شهر الله شهر الله شهر الله شهر الله شهر الله شهر الله شهر الرضوان والغفران
قد جاءنا شهر الخير والغفران. أهلا 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 بك يا رمضان. Guys, Ramadan is finally here.
I'm so
Oh my
happy.
God.
So happy. This
I
month,
can't
it
believe-
just makes me so happy.
It is. It's time to put up the lanterns, get the
My
decorations on the walls, knock on the neighbors' doors and share some mandazi and
Yeah.
chai
Oh
and
my
kitumbua and
goodness.
just beauty, beauty, beauty everywhere.
It's like we wait for this month like every single year.
It's
But
yeah.
it's funny because sometimes we think about like all the concerns we have
Yeah.
regarding this month. Like, oh my god, how are we gonna make
Long
it through? Long
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Like daylight savings times is changing. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Like
Yeah.
how are we gonna make it through? And there's
Yeah.
so many things going on. But it comes and it gives you so much peace
Yeah.
and this like spiritual high that you've
Do you
been
know
missing.
why? And this is actually mentioned in the Prophet's sermon while he's welcoming the month of Ramadan in Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi's book, Fasting in Ramadan, A Simple Guide to Ritual, Social and Spiritual Dimensions. So it says, it's like the Holy Prophet says that فيه دعيتم إلى ضيافة الله, which means that in this month you were invited and God is inviting you to his house. So it's like imagine God is the host and we're entering. What do you do usually when guests are coming? You make sure everything is prim and proper, like everything is
You're
perfect.
prepping everything. Like,
Exactly.
all
And
aspects of
when you go as well, when like from the adab of being a guest at someone's house, you take like a little gift for them, So we're taking gifts as well to this month and stuff, which actually brings an interesting question that you were asking earlier, Filia, to mind. Go ahead.
I was asking that, like, what are we preparing for this Ramadan? Like, what are our goals this Ramadan? What are we trying to achieve this Ramadan?
What are we taking into?
What is
while
our
we're
gift
being
that
invited?
we're bringing with us?
Yeah. Do you want to get us started?
Sure. So I actually have ordered this book of Sheikh Jawad Shumali, the commentary on Dua Arafah, and I just haven't had the chance to really delve into it. I started reading a little bit of it on my like March break, but I thought that, this Ramadan, I want to really like analyze this book and like the commentary and like see how it relates to my life and how I can really implement this dua into my life. Like, because every time this dua has a really special, like, I have a really special connection with it.
Why so?
Throughout my uni, I've been like, anytime there's been something like I feel like it's too overwhelming, this dua gives me peace. And I think I really connected with it on Arafah. It was on Arafah right before I had to leave back to Canada. And usually that's one of the hardest periods. Like going home and then leaving, it just breaks my heart every single time. So it was Arafah and we were all sitting together in the living room. And it's never happened like this before that I really like connect like with this dua. Like I've been listening to it every year. But this year it just clicked somehow.
Yeah.
Right? And I was reading the meaning and I was just crying, like tears. Like I was just like, oh my goodness, like even though I'm leaving, Allah is with me.
Yeah.
He knows what's best for me. He's always gonna be there for me. Like no matter who leaves me on this earth, like I know I have Allah with me. And that's what I'm gonna take this dua with me and make it my strength.
That's actually so beautiful because no matter wherever you go in the world, as being, like being an international student, let's say for those that get married and then, moved with their in-laws, wherever it is that you move, one thing will remain consistent, and that's,
God.
You will have
Your relationship with God.
you'll have.
And He has your back. Like I've noticed, like I always have these worries, like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this alone? Like for example, Ramadan, especially as international students, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right? Like
You're
I
used
remember,
to your mom's food.
yeah, mom's food. Like come on, like
My mom's oud. Oh my God! Every time mom tells me, like during Maghrib time, she's like, "Oud's still not on," and I'm like,
man.
"I'm doing it."
There are some things we really miss, right? About Ramadan for being at home.
Yeah.
So I always have these worries and anxieties, like, how am I gonna get through this? How am I gonna do this? Like, the big things in my life, I'm like, because I overthink things. So I think about like the worst possible situations.
Yeah.
And then Allah shows me, like it comes and Allah has my back, like He takes
Yeah.
care of it. He sends someone or the other my way
Yeah.
that gives me peace and comfort.
Like He says, He doesn't لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, right?
Yeah.
Like He never ever gives you anything
that you
unless
can't bear.
He knows
But
that
also He, like,
got
with
this.
difficulty comes ease.
Yeah.
So even if He gives you a hardship, He provides some comfort to you as well. And
Yeah.
that can be in the form of people, that can be in the form of like anything that, you know,
Yeah.
like but you just have to keep your eyes open. And I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what Dua Arafah has taught me.
Yeah.
Like throughout, like every time I feel overwhelmed, I'm like, I need Dua Arafah. And I just need to read it. And even though it's such a long dua, I will sit on my musalla and I will just like read and that meaning, and just like somehow I get a treasure from it every single time I open it. Like that's the beauty of that dua. Like the perspective that I go with into that dua, I find something. Then I'm like, the next time I'm feeling overwhelmed, I go into it and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna read it. But then I find another treasure that helps me in that moment. So Dua Arfa is just like something I really want to like start implementing, analyzing in a very like deeper way than I have been, because it's that connection is there, and it's so beautiful to think of Imam Hussein's words and his connection with Allah, and how like we always talk about Karbala and with Imam Hussein, right? But we don't realize that there is so much more than Karbala to Imam Hussein, and his words are just beauty. I could talk about this forever, so I'm gonna stop now.
Yeah. Oh no, that's beautiful. You know, that actually reminds me. So my goal is, well, quite similar to yours. And a big shout out, like a humongous, like gigantic, massive shout out to our favorite Sheikh Shimali, Sheikh MJ Shimali, right before Shahr Ramadan. And I'm so excited about the fact that he's just released his book about Dua Abu Hamza Somali. So it's going to be reaching me soon, inshallah, and that's my sort of goal for Shahr Ramadan, is to focus on that dua. And of course, one of the main goals is also to focus on the Quran, because it's so interesting. So Fariha, how do you think how many times do you think Shahr Ramadan has been mentioned in the Quran?
I'm not sure. Maybe like 15 times?
So if I'm not mistaken, it's been mentioned once only. Only
wow.
once. And do you want to guess how Allah introduces Ramadan? Like, does he say that, oh, Ramadan is the month of fasting, Ramadan is the month where you do good, Ramadan? How does he introduce it?
Tell us.
So he says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. يعني الذي is literally like he described, he says شهر رمضان. What is Shahr Ramadan? Oh, it's the month where the Quran was revealed, you know? And then it continues on to say, أنزل فيه القرآن هدى, like basically it's هدى و like the ayah basically then goes on to describe that it's guidance and it's a sign of, you know, glad tidings, etc. for the mu'mineen. But mainly what it's trying to say is that it's the month where what's the speciality about Shahr Ramadan? Quran was revealed. So my connection with the Quran this year, what I wanted to do is that I want to pick an ayah that attracts me the most while I'm reading, because you will, like, if you read it with the intention of this is what I want to get, then you will get what you want to get.
Right.
So I wanted to read it with the intention of, okay, let me see what theme is attracting me the most. Like last year, the theme that was attracting me the most was about making the heart the Kaaba of Allah. So there's even a beautiful hadith that says that the heart of a mu'min, قلب المؤمن حرم Allah. It's the haram of Allah. It's the house. It's you know, that's where God lives. So basically, that theme was attracting me the most when I was reading Quran, when I was focusing on the tafsir last Shahr Ramadan. So let's see what attracts me the most this year.
That's interesting, because like I also wanted to do that as well. Like you know, deep dive into the Quran, and not specifically like one ayah, but understanding the root words and how that relates to its meaning. I did start a course on that, but I didn't finish it. But I want to like start doing that on my own as well. So I was thinking of ordering. There's this like Quran dictionary, and it goes through all the root words and the meanings and how many times they're mentioned in the Quran. And I feel like that, and then just adding my own analysis into it. So since you said that, like, how do you go about that? Because it would be nice to tell let everyone know what's the process of doing that, because sometimes you need a guided way to go through the Quran, right? Otherwise you're like, where do I start?
So something that I've literally just recently started with my students as well is that and for those who have studied basics of Arabic language or Quranic Arabic, know that each and every Arabic word comes from a root word, right? Which is mostly or mainly a 3-letter word,
right?
And so you need to learn like a set of, or you start by learning a set of root words. So whenever you come across that word again in the Quran, you can sort of like figure out what it's talking about. Like, let's say as an example, amanu, right? So whenever it's talking about alladhina amanu, you're like, oh, those people that believe. Or let's say like sama, you learn the word sama. Then let's say if you come across samawat, or like any other word with regards to so it's talking about the heavens or the skies. So, and then don't focus too much on the on the amount of ayat that you need to finish in a day. I know it's difficult. I know that many times you're like, I need to finish a sipara per day. But try to tell yourself in this way: I need to finish a qualitative sipara per day, not a quantitative sipara. Have you finished your qualitative sipara? Have you learned something? This today, like, has your this today been different from yesterday? So I guess that's what I would say.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. What about you, Zahra?
Hi guys. I was actually here the whole time, but yeah, so I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but I actually haven't prepped anything because I usually wait for the first majalis that I listen to on the first night of Ramadan to like
get inspired.
Prepare, get inspired.
I think a lot of people would be able to relate to that. With the way, like, with the hustle and bustle of our lives, it's so relatable.
Yeah, I always see the countdown, like everyone says, oh, like 30 days to Ramadan, I don't know, 15 days to Ramadan, 7 days to Ramadan. And I'm just like so stressed out because I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So one thing that I have decided is that I'm going to focus on Surah Naml this Ramadan because I've been connecting with nature recently and there's a lot of references and ayahs about nature and analysis.
Like, what specifically drove you towards Surah Naml?
Nature. I was just going through the Quran and like figuring out which surah I wanted to focus on because I try to pick one every Ramadan. And I was reading through the ayah and I have this Quran that has analysis at the bottom.
Oh, wow.
And it was explaining like a lot of things about like, the birds and the mountains and the water and the sea. And I just found that really beautiful. So I wanted to look into that more and like learn from it.
That's beautiful. That actually nature is whatever is outside of you is an unfolding of the world that's within you. So every single thing, a tree is not just a tree, it's a symbolism.
It's an energy as well.
Literally everything outside is not just merely a thing. Like, we look at water and we're like, oh, water. It's not water. It's just called water. It symbolizes something. Water is, like, as an example, many a times
life.
Water symbolizes life, exactly. Or water symbolizes the nafs, and the movement of the nafs and what stops it. Or let's say, as an example, the branches of a tree, similar to the alveoli within our lungs, symbolizes oxygen.
Or the roots of our tree symbolizes like how firm we hold on to our values.
Exactly.
And things like that.
So all of these things, it's not just out there, it's symbolism.
It's
beauty.
And that just lies in the way that you analyze things as well, that you see around you, right? That's why in like Surah Rahman it's repeated again and again, like, do you not see? So just see and reflect.
Allow the eyes of your intellect to open windows in your life.
And the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Allah.
So your perspective, guys, put your beauty lenses on.
رمضان شهر الرحمن نتلو فيه القرآن شهر الخير والغفران والفوز والرضوان
Okay guys, I have a quick prompt for you guys to end this. I wanted to ask, what questions are you trying to answer the most in your life right now?
Hey, that wasn't planned. Were we? Okay,
this is an impromptu thing. Okay. Impromptu.
It can be like related to Ramadan or not.
Okay, if I'm speaking honestly, I feel like currently there's a few, let's say, practices that we have been practicing quite commonly since, a young age. I'm just sort of trying to figure out
Where you
the root
stand.
cause. What is the correct way of practicing them? And what is true Islam? And how can we be true, like real Muslims, instead of like basically detaching from culture? It's difficult because you're surrounded with those questions everywhere.
Yeah.
And some people hush, you know, they're like, don't ask those questions. So I
Yeah,
guess
that's
those are
true.
the questions I'm trying to answer.
For me, it's my first Ramadan away from home. So I'm just trying to figure out
Mabruk,
how
welcome
to
to the
survive.
adult life.
Yeah, the question I'm just like wondering is just like, how am I going to adapt to that? And like, what is this Ramadan going to be like for me? Because I'm so used to the routine of like, you know, go to uni, come back, have iftar prepared for me on the table.
This
And
year.
then-
It's not gonna be like that.
and then like, yeah, rushing to mosque, going to darsa, you know, all this stuff.
Darsa.
And it's like completely different this year. So I'm just trying to see how I adapt and how different it can be. And what I gain from it as well, because obviously there's good in everything. So yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's beauty in that as well. You may not see it in the moment, but then when you reflect back on it, you're like, oh, that was for a reason. Like, what did Allah want me to achieve in this time? Like, there was a time as well. It's just reminding me, like, when I spent Ramadan in Kitchener-Waterloo, mosque is a very small mosque, small community, right? And like usually on the bigger nights, we would have like a crowd, but on the regular night, we would have a very small crowd, right? So sometimes it would just be me and my friend like there. But we would still make the effort to go to the mosque and be there and, you know, get whatever we can from that moment.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes it's just the atmosphere.
It's not perfect. You know, life isn't going to be perfect all the time. Like, yes, we miss those vibes that we had back home, but you have to just see what you have in front of you in the moment and make the most of it. Because honestly, later on, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh my God, I missed that time. Right?
that's
So you
true.
might as well make the most of it when you're in it. And it's hard. I'm not saying it, like I do that all the time where I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, you start complaining about the way things are in the moment, but then you realize you only have this for a certain, you know, amount of time.
That's true.
And then when you start like losing it, you're like, oh my God, I don't want this to end. Like, for example, when university started like ending for me, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss these student years. And but then like during the student years itself, I'm
Yeah,
like
you're always so
stressed
out
and overwhelmed and
yeah.
overworked, and we forget to see the beauty in it.
It's beautiful how Sheikh Jawad Shamali puts it. He goes like, when a stressful situation comes, our brain automatically goes, oh, now I need to be stressed. Okay, you know, act stress. But then, you know, you're like, just one second. Everyone, hold on.
Hold
Calm
your
down.
horses.
Think about this
Okay,
for a
calm
second.
down. 1 second. Why am I telling myself, no, you have to be stressed? Oh, calm down, you know, like it's going to be fine. Have an opposite response and automatically, you know, the
change
stress
your
is gonna go
perspective
away.
and everything will fall into place. But it is a process as well, because
Yeah.
there are things that do affect you. Like you feel like, oh my God, I miss this, I miss that. And it's natural to feel that way. But also try and see the other side of it
course.
too, whilst you're in it. I think just recently life has been really hectic for me. So I'm hoping that this Ramadan I can just take a little bit of a pause and start to think about how things went down in the past year and what I can do to make it easier for myself, like just in terms of work-life balance. And I haven't been really like, you know, taking care of myself as much as I should be. Like as a teacher, it's hard to balance everything. And sometimes it feels like, oh my God, this is it. Like I have to focus, give my 100% to this. And then you start forgetting about taking care of yourself. And that's been happening the past few months. Like those of you that are close to me know that it's been crazy. So I just want to take a pause and focus on taking care of myself, connecting with those around me in the moment, and appreciating everything. That's maybe not a question, but like a prospect that I want to work on this.
It's like you've asked the question, now you're giving me the
Yeah,
answer.
I'm answering my own question.
This is a question and answer. This is like monologue, guys. Belia, speak to yourself, ask your questions, answer.
Yeah, so I just want to take a deep breath this Ramadan.
All right, guys. Congratulations once again for the upcoming beautiful, beautiful days. And inshallah, I pray that all of your du'as are accepted.
Ilahi ameen.
And that we get as close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we possibly can this
Together.
month. Together, yes. And we elevate and elevate and elevate and prepare ourselves to be the best soldiers of the coming Imam.
So do keep us in your prayers as well. We want to make this like consistent. So keep us in your prayers. We will keep you in our prayers. and together we can support each other, inshallah. this
إن
month.
شاء الله. الحمد لله الذي جعل من تلك السبل شهر رمضان، شهر الصيام وشهر الإسلام وشهر الطهور وشهر التمحيص وشهر القيام، الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان.
يعلو شأنا في الميزان من يسمو فيه الآن، ويضيء سماء الأزمان بالحب والوجدان. شهر الله، شهر الله، شهر الله.
This was your dose of Baraza Banter. We hope you enjoyed. Until the next cup of tea.